dirt pump track within a vacant portion of land at Christmas Hill Park.
Certainly, Mayor and Council, this item comes to you from a council-initiated directed item that was from Councilmember Harney regarding a proposed dirt pump track at one of our parks. Tonight's action is not approving an actual agreement between Garlic City BMX and the city of Gilroy. Rather, it's to provide you the analysis, and then the proposed action is related to a MOU between the city and Garlic City BMX. And I'll discuss a little bit more of the intent and purpose of that, us entering into that MOU. A little bit of background. As I stated, this was an agendized item. We've met with the grassroots, and you're going to hear from them tonight. There's a grassroots group out there that's tied with the Gilroy City BMX, the Garcia family, and in the previous discussions that have come forth to council was for the construction of a BMX approved size track over at our sports complex. However, because of the number of issues involving and surrounding the land at the sports complex, it's a bit more complicated. One, two, the size of the project would require studies, engineering, geotechnical, possibly some environmental, and also two, there's some flood issues because a portion of that land out there is in the FEMA flood maps. As part of our due diligence when this project was proposed, we looked at 3 different sites in terms of parks. We looked at Sunrise Park. However, that's a neighborhood park, so it's probably not the best. I know some of you live out there. But in terms of looking at possible sites, that was one we looked at, but quickly we said, no, this is not a suitable site. Next, we went over to Los Animas, and again, we looked for available land, about an acre or so. The only 2 areas that, again, seemed to be feasible or viable were the dog park areas. One thing I've learned is you don't mess with people's dogs. And so, those areas quickly we took off the list. We then went over to Christmas Hill Park, and when we looked at some of the sites there, we did identify 2 potential sites that we would look at. I've gone through I'll talk a bit, come back to this. So this is a site map. This is not to scale. Our engineering staff provided this. This is option A. This was the first site we identified. It's about an acre or so, acre plus area for the dirt pump track. It's right next to the trail. This is our mounted unit horse training area. So this is just south. There are some concerns, as we heard tonight, with the Uvas Creek Preservation master plan that we'd have to look for consistency. Also, too, in talking to the Garlic Festival Association, they have some concerns because this area, which we're proposing as option A, is an area that they use for their vendor parking. So, of course, we want to be a good partner with the Garlic Festival and minimize any impacts to them. Alternatively, we looked at option B, which is northwest of the horse training area here. Similar size area. It's a little bit further than the creek, so it probably minimizes some of the environmental issues or concern. So these are the 2 sites that we would evaluate as part of our analysis for the dirt pump track. What the MOU allows us to do, going back into here, is the proposal is that the grassroots group, working with using the Garlic City BMX as the umbrella nonprofit organization, we would enter into a lease agreement or license agreement between the city and Garlic City BMX. That's stage 2 of our discussions with them. Entering into MOU will allow both the city and Garlic City BMX to do our due diligence for the dirt pump track. We're going to be looking at zoning, the public facilities, stream setbacks. As I said, it's next to Uvas Creek, so we have to look at any habitat conservation issues, any biological, and as well too as looking at floodway and floodplain issues, because it may be we may be encroaching on the water district's area responsibility, so we will be reaching out to them as well. So what does the MOU get Garlic City BMX? What it allows them to do is demonstrate they have the intent to have control with the future lease agreement between the city and Garlic City BMX, for them to be able to go do some fundraising, for them to do their due diligence. As I talked about, we have to look at some environmental issues and biological. We have to evaluate and assess both sites to see which one's most feasible and which one creates or has the least amount of impacts, to whoever it may be, and also to allow us to demonstrate and to identify the roles and responsibilities of each of us. What Garlic City BMX is going to be agreeing to do as part of their roles and responsibilities during this time period, as well as the cities, and working in collaborative partnership with them to help them through the process. It's not committing the city to any lease agreement for either of those parcels. That will be next steps coming back to council for us if there's agreement and it's feasible for the group to develop the project. They're going to get into Zach, I believe, is going to present some of that. Zach Hilton, who's also our chair of our Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission, has been involved, as well as others. I'll let him make those introductions. So that's where we're at today. It's simply looking at getting direction to move forward with the development of an MOU to enter into. That MOU, by the way, would come back to you as well for your approval once we are able to sit down and talk about the roles and responsibilities, and that would just be step one of this process that will be multi-phase moving forward. So if you have any questions as it pertains to staff's analysis on the matter as well as the recommendation, I'm available for those. Otherwise, Zach has some additional slides that he'd like to present as part of what they're proposing and what a dirt pump track may look like. Hold on.
Thank you.
So can I get a clarifying? So you're saying the two sites will be the option B at Christmas Hill Park, and what's the other site?
So they're both at Christmas Hill Park.
Oh, so you're not
No.
talking about the
Sunrise
other
and Los Animas are off the table.
one? Okay.
Both the sites is right.
And the
we're-
sports complex is off the table as well?
For the dirt pump track purposes, because these are small in scale, as Zach will present,
okay.
they're not as sophisticated as a professional level BMX track, from what my understanding. These are basically more of moving some dirt, building them up, and you can have a finished or unfinished surface on top of it. But I'll let Zach get into some of those details.
Those are the two sites right there.
But we're only, just for clarification, we're only talking about Christmas Hill Park, and we're only talking on that site, option A or option B, all within Christmas Hill Park.
All right, so I won't repeat anything that he said. Some of these slides might coexist, but I'll move forward on them. But I just wanted to start out with an intro saying that, you know, I'm excited to have this in front of you all tonight, in front of the public. This is the farthest that a bike park has ever come in Gilroy. I picked this project up of the beginning when I first joined the commission in 2017, and I really have never let it go. That first meeting, we had over 60 members of the public come to our meeting, and when they heard that we were reviving the BMX efforts, you know, style track in Gilroy. We've never taken this off of our radar since, and I want to thank Councilmember Dan Harney for never letting this off his radar and for bringing this back to agenda tonight, and also for thanking staff for also believing in this too and coming together, because this truly is a joint effort, and it has to be a joint effort going forward, especially if we're ever to, you know, to create what Councilwoman Tucker was talking about, more of a national level track, you know, zoned in the right area. So on the operations side, Garlic City BMX will work with local organizations to host events that bring funding to maintain the park so they can self-sustain themselves. Garlic City BMX and the local community will organize build and maintenance days. During outside of events hosted, the pump track will also be open to the public at no charge. And this is the main difference between, you know, more of a national level track versus a track just the same way as if you built a neighborhood park, and those parks have hours, and at the same time there's a play structure there. Kids can go on the play structure. They don't have to ask permission. They don't have to spend any money, you know, to get on there. That's what this is. That's what this dirt pump track is going to be. So it's open 365 days a year, just like any other asset during normal park hours. Action sports, construction, which is the company that we've been talking with. They've been building and designing these parks regionally, nationally, and they're a primary builder for also the BMX Olympic training centers. Let's see, we already said all that. So when you speak of a relationship and funding, with the local connections of Garlic City BMX and Action Sports Construction, we have tools to successfully fund the park and maintain the park. I'm also following along with other pump tracks that are being built in the same manner, where we're trying to use grassroots funding. One of those is in Napa, so I've been in contact with them, and they're doing something very similar to what we're doing, and so I basically want to follow their efforts too. The way this will be constructed is that Garlic City BMX, which is a nonprofit, can accept funds directly as a nonprofit. At the same time, we can create a GoFundMe page, so that way you can reach a broader audience, okay, that might not be in direct contact with Garlic City BMX. And then also the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, we recently established a public bike fund, and we established this to run our decal program for the bikes. Well, it's the same thing. If somebody wants to donate money directly to us, and then at the same time the commission can give money to the park, whether it's for signage or bike racks, that kind of stuff can come through there too. And I want to make sure to let you know too that many of the costs associated to building the track that you saw in your staff report, a lot of those can be reduced for local in-kind services. We have a local community that has been building tracks for decades, but at the same time, we know that we've got resources from Action Sports Construction and also local resources, like people willing to fund the fueling for the backhoes, or actually providing dirt from from the local developers. So this is what the pump track would look like, and basically this will all fit in 1 acre, and this is to make it inclusive for everybody. So you got your toddler riding area, which, believe it or not, at a lot of these BMX tracks, you're going to see kids on Strider bikes, which is the bikes without any wheels, and you're going to see them rolling around there. And so that's what that toddler riding area is for. The pump track on the top is basically, I have a little video in the next slide, but a lot of people have asked, like, how do they keep the momentum going? Well, basically, it's because you're pumping on the bike. And there's a little video that can show that. Then for the older kids and some of the younger kids that are daring enough, there's a tabletop jump area that's on the bottom. This track design was donated to us from Action Sports Construction. So maintenance on the track, like Gabe mentioned, that there's a way where either you can come out and once it's built, you're going to need to maintain it. So whatever location needs to get chosen, we need to have water access to water down the track. And either monthly, you would have build parties, you would volunteers that would come out and maintain it, but for a certain amount of price, you can actually put a sealant over top of it, and it'll be good for several years.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Zach, does that sealant prevent erosion?
Yeah.
Is that the purpose of it?
Yeah. So this pump track right here, this can be built in a couple days. So that's why, and you could tear it down and you can rebuild you could design a different one. This one's at Sea Otter, which is it's a large, national bike race that's down in Sea Otter. And so you can build them really fast. So as far as you're building, you're not digging into the earth at all, you're building up from the dirt. So you could take it all the way down, redesign something else.
I understand that, but my question was regarding the sealant. The sealant just prevents erosion.
Yeah, and it'll keep it in place for a few years. It's
okay,
not something that
fine.
you wouldn't want to redesign it or change it after you put that in there, because it will stay there for a while. So the specialized foundation track, that was down there in Sea Otter. This is the kids zone, and it's always packed every single year. So this is an example of events that can take place at the park, whether it's corporate trying to promote something they do for schools, organizations, fundraising, outreach, local unions trying to do outreach. And I'll play this video. So as you can see, the kids, they put their helmet on, and basically they just keep revolving around and around and around on the track. Some of it you have little jump areas, but mainly in a pump track like this, it's just to get the kids used to riding on dirt. But as you can see, specialized foundation, which is in our school district now, there's a grant that's called Riding for Focus. So they're at Solar Sauna Middle School right now. So they're a local, they're right there in Morgan Hill. Garlic City BMX has a lot of contacts that specialize, but not even specialized. There's Mongoose Racing, there's a lot of other corporate sponsors that would want to develop a park here in Gilroy. And so just in closing, I just want to say too that I also have a bunch of like letters of recommendation from local businesses that are supportive of this. But here's a message I received today. My husband and I fully support the proposal of the BMX track in Gilroy. We're raising 3 boys that are passionate about biking. We bring them to the tracks in Santa Cruz, Hollister, and other surrounding areas. It would be amazing to have a track in our community. The boys would be able to have it as an outlet for them to get their energy out and have fun with their community friends. They would also be able to bond more with their kids in ages in our community and establish friends to live in our hometown that share the passion of BMX. And then this person also, like every other person that I've reached out to lately, tell me where to show up with a shovel. Tell me where to show up so I can, sit there and help, or even try to get donations.
Okay, Zach.
All right.
All right, thank you so much. Let me let's see here. Let me bring it back to, let me ask council, is there any questions for staff right now before we go to the public? No, Councilmember Harney.
Mayor, I can just give my recommendation, then you guys can have.
Oh, yes.
So, as stated up here, we're asking council to go ahead and direct staff to proceed with the development and drafting of a MOU between the city of Gilroy and Garlic City BMX, which you would then approve at a later date. And then just in terms of next steps, we're talking about drafting the MOU. And then, of course, as part of that due diligence during that period, plans and business plan, design, and so forth will be compiled and brought back to you with a potential lease arrangement with Garlic City BMX at a later date.
Okay. Councilmember Harney?
Yeah, again, just to reiterate, this isn't about, approving a BMX park. It's about moving forward with a draft MOU similar to what we have with the tennis courts over at Los Animas. But I just wanted to share some experience with you guys and with the rest of the council and some of the things that we've done as a grassroots effort here. I've got a lot of that going on in my house right now, so a lot. But anyways, the purpose of the group coming together was to say, look, let's figure out a way to make this happen in the community. Let's do something that's grassroots. And usually you would expect a project like this to come from Leadership Gilroy or other similar types of groups. But what impressed me with this group was they wanted to really present a park that was low cost, no cost, and have it local and central so that all of the community could have access to it. There's very few barriers to entry in a park like this. It also takes advantage of the Uvis Creek area and the existing trails that connect the sports complex all the way to Birchall Road. What also impressed me was the group that came together are some are renowned business leaders in our community. Danny Mitchell is heading up, and he reviewed the 501c, made sure that we had a business plan set up, and then we also had a subject matter expert come in who was Alex Fowler with ASC Construction. And then even the local development community came together offering to donate the land, as was presented in the presentation here. So, when I walked away from the first meeting, I said, wow, this could actually work. It wouldn't really cost the city a lot of money other than some staff time. And as a city manager and I put our thoughts together, we said, let's try and bring this back to council. We reached out to the Parks and Rec team, commission, and asked them for their thoughts, and that's why I asked those questions during their public presentation. And then recently I had a call from a concerned citizen related to the Uvis Creek master plan for the recreational area, and we'll bring those people in as well, and I'm sure you'll hear some of those public comments tonight. But again, I think that we have a really good team that has governorship, that has business experience, and that has project experience, and that has subject matter expertise. And I think a good step would be to approve the recommendation to move forward with an MOU.
Thank you, Councilmember. Shauna, any speakers?
Yes, sir. Herman Garcia, followed by Teresa Perez and Mary Yates.
Come on up. That. I really don't care who goes first, just somebody get up there.
Hello, Herman Garcia again with Cheater Coastal Habitat Education, Environmental Restoration. I've lived here my whole life, born and raised here. And Dave, according to the map you had up there, showing the location of this park, understand I support your project, okay? Very good. But you couldn't have picked the worst spot to put it. No, no, no. And if you folks remember about a year and a half ago, I kicked PG&E back into the Stone Age using federal data documentation on the Endangered Species Act. They didn't even fight back. It was an open and shut case. Earlier I talked about the 150-foot setback. That whole map was within that 150-foot setback. And for those, most of you probably weren't here, 8 or 10 years ago, it took me 2 years to get the Garlic Festival off the hook, the city of Gilroy off the hook, and Glen Loma for environmental violations, federal. Okay, federal. It took me 2 years to get a compliance letter from the National Marine Fishery Service that everything was now okay. Erosion issues, silt and sediment. You would not believe the can of worms you're opening. You couldn't have picked a worse spot, okay? And the reason I've been walking to Sacramento is I'm old and cranky, and I'm not putting up with any more BS. This week I cited Caltrans with the EPA, okay, here south of Gilroy. I'm done saving everybody's behind, okay, and that includes this BMX track. Hey, I'll help you find a location. There are other alternatives, but you couldn't have handpicked a worse spot to put it. Worst spot. And Cheer already invested $10,000 on water infrastructure in that location for the children's native plant gardens in 2012. Beautiful gardens. Then came the drought, dried them all up, and the garden team is here. They've already started revitalization work there. So, and those areas for the gardens were approved by the state, the federal government, and the Garlic Festival.
I need you to wrap up. You're over your time.
That's fine.
Okay.
So you guys can reach out to me. I'll help you try to find another location, but it's no, no, no on that one. And if I have to bring
Okay,
the
all right.
U.S. Attorney General's office over
All
here
right.
to stop it, I will. You
Thank
ain't
you.
going to win.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Teresa Perez, followed by Mary Yates and Connie Rogers.
My timer on. I know about the 3 minutes, so I make sure my speeches are within
Thank you.
3. I've learned my lesson with you guys. Okay.
I think
Well, I'm gonna
the
start here.
numbers are, the
right.
numbers are right there in front of you.
Before it was right there in front of me. All right, so thank you, Council, again for bringing this opportunity for us to present to about our community's desire to bring a bicycle pump track to Christmas Hill Park. I'd especially like to express my gratitude to the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee and Councilmember Daniel Harney for their continued efforts in advocating for our community and expanding our city's bicycle and pedestrian activities and being a true face and participant in all our outdoor city-involved events. I'm here again with Garlic City BMX in support of our city gaining a pump track and would like to inform you of the benefits of a pump track. My hopes is the city will understand the benefits of said track and at a minimum, match fundings. Cycling is one of the most popular sports. Our city has some well-developed cycling paths networks, but are missing in some places where adults and children can practice their riding skills in a safe environment. Unfortunately, bicycles are not allowed at the city-funded and built skate park. What is our city's only alternative area? It helps create our town's attraction. A modern infrastructure increases the attractiveness of our town. A pump track will stand out from conventional sport facilities and support our local bike shops, such as an audience attendees Shifty Cycles. It's a fun way to exercise. Riding pump tracks gets you in shape because you train skills and fitness in a fun way. It is a good way to promote physical activity in Gilroy. It preserves our resources. They can be built in areas as small as 250 square meters or in unused areas. Compared to other sports facilities, building a pump track is extremely economical and easy on your budget. They are multifunctional. Asphalt or concrete pump tracks can also be ridden with any kind of sport equipment, such as bikes, skateboards, inline skates, and scooters. And he has mentioned the soil track that was just installed at the Santa Clara Pal track, and that is actually something that preserves. So you can see it from last year where it was a dirt track. This year it's a soil track, and you'll see the difference of what that means. Pump tracks are for everyone from beginners to professionals, kids to adults, women and men. Pump tracks are suitable for everyone. You can ride a pump track with a regular mountain bike and kids' bikes. The only piece of equipment one needs is a helmet. You can even integrate a pump track as part of our school's sports lessons. Pump tracks are stomping grounds for the whole community. With the track being located at Christmas Hill Park, there are multitude of safe bicycle routes for children and riders to get to the track. Riding pump track is silent and therefore pleasant for the residents. A pump track is perceived as a playground for young and old. Pump tracks are safe. Other countries, such as the Swiss Department for Accident Prevention and many city, counties, sports and recreational departments have classified pump tracks as blue, which means easy and safe. Therefore, pump tracks can be integrated in existing insurance policies for areas such as kids' playgrounds. Lastly, they are made by locals, thus supporting local Bay Area businesses such as Action Sports Construction. Again, I hope our City Council considers bringing this valuable opportunity to our community. And thank you, council members and community attendees, such as our kids that are ready to go to bed, I bet.
Thank you so much.
Mary Yates, Connie Rogers, and George Foner.
All right, we're having fun yet here. Mary Yates, Carmel Street. All right, so first of all, I believe Mr. Harney needs to recuse himself from any vote on this since he's on the management team listed in the business plan. Going forward, first of all, I'd like to say that I am not in any way against this sport or anything that can be considered a legitimate sport and good recreational outlet. I come from a background of physical education, so I'm always out there liking to see kids out and playing instead of looking at their video games on their iPhones or whatever. However, I think there is an appropriate place for any facility to be placed, and in my mind, creating a big swath of bare dirt mounds, et cetera, in a park preserve, which is what the Uvis Creek Park Preserve is named and intended to be, is not appropriate. Herman Garcia also mentioned the creek and the 150-foot setback and the possibility of damage to the area. BMX is a great sport, and it's now an Olympic sport. And as such, I have no doubt that it would attract folks from outside Gilroy. I expect that rather than riding their bikes here, they will be driving their cars, though, with their bikes attached to the rack. This requires vehicle parking, and I do not see any shown in the plan of the pictures in the staff report. The BMX track deal in conjunction with the city of Gilroy was approved in 2007 to be part of our sports complex down at the south end of town. And I think that that's where it should be. Also in the 2017 strategic plan of the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission, one of their strategic, their goals is stated as update the Gilroy Trails Master Plan, Bicycle Pedestrian Transportation Plan, Parks Master Plan, and Gilroy Sports Park Master Plan to include BMX jump pump track, and asphalt pump track. So to say that that's not viable anymore, I think, is necessarily a misnomer. I know I'm running out of time here, so I'd just like to say that, what's easy is not always right, and what is right is not always easy. Herman has offered to help you find an more appropriate place than in the Uvis Park Preserve, and I hope that you will take him up on that and decline at this time to approve the MOU. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Connie Rogers, George Fauner, and John Andler.
Good evening again, council members. I do want to commend this committee for getting this business plan on the table. This is the furthest I've ever seen, and this need has been present for at least about 20 years. What I can remember is going and walking down in the creek bed of the preserve, and local kids actually made their own humps and bumps and things, and then the city park superintendent probably, said, no, you can't do that, and the city had to go in there and tear it all out. In spite of, you had to admire those kids for making their own track. My concerns with this proposal are all about the process and the way it happened and the environmental concerns. I was glad to hear Mary say that it actually was in 2007, you said, part of the plan for the sports park. To me, the sports park would be a much better appropriate location because there is parking there, and it's still on the south end of the bike path. I think we need to find out how this is going to fit into the park's master plan and the ranch site master plan. The plans that I looked at online today did mention the possibility of a future bike facility, but they were very vague and no location was specified, where I read it in the park's master plan. I also want to know that the Parks and Recreation Commission has seen this. They ought to be the starting place, really, along with the Bike Ped Commission. And since it's happening right now, it would be good to put it in the 2040 general plan, because usually what happens after a general plan is made, then the master plans are made. So when this general plan is approved, it could be in a master plan, and obviously then would perhaps need to be put in the capital improvement budget. But my environmental concerns are many, actually, and if you haven't lived in this community very long, you might not remember the flood that we had in 1986 that wiped out the $1 million worth of improvements that Dennis DeBell gave us the money for. And also even in 2017, we had a wet winter, and we have, my husband has bird nest boxes along the creek, and some of them are 6 or 8 feet high. They were wiped out too. So both environmental and flooding concerns are valid. So I would like you to reconsider the sports park, because I don't think annexation should be a problem. If we can build the sports park itself without annexing, why can't a BMX track be included in it, as long as there's still space for baseball fields? Thank you.
George Fooner, followed by John Ander.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I think you're going to hear a familiar refrain here about the distinction between the project and the location, and I'd like to just build on that a little bit. And then you've also heard a lot tonight about the Uvis Park Preserve and the master plan, so I might take this as an opportunity to reflect back on the history of that, just to give you a little context. So I believe that the BMX track could be a good fit in the Uvis Creek corridor that runs from the sports park to Gilroy Gardens, perhaps even in the vicinity that's been proposed. But it needs to be located farther from the creek to meet environmental regulations and to be consistent with the Uvis Creek Park Preserve Master Plan. And in fact, I think this is really a great opportunity to kind of reinvigorate and re-communicate to the public what a fantastic asset we have in that creek corridor. You know, not to belabor the point about its recreational value, and needless to say, part of our integral source of water and for meeting our environmental mandates. So let me go back and just describe a little bit about that master plan. The Park Preserve Master Plan was produced by a community task force that was charged by the city to create a community-based vision. The plan features a greenbelt corridor in which the public could walk, run, and bicycle in a natural environment, and within which the wildlife habitat along Uvis Creek would be restored and enhanced. And work executing that plan received a major boost from a $1 million bequest from Dennis DeBell that Connie just mentioned, a former city council member and local developer and philanthropist who had long been an advocate for education and preservation of the creek environment. With that bequest and supplemental funding from the city, remnants of the prior gravel mining were removed from the creek bed, the natural contours of the land were restored, and a levee and asphalt trail were constructed, and native plants were planted. And quoting from the Dispatch's account of the dedication of the DeBell Uvis Creek Park Preserve in 2003, the 125-acre preserve stretching from Santa Teresa Boulevard south to West Luchesa is seen by many observers as one of Gilroy's treasures. It offers walkers, joggers, cyclists, and nature enthusiasts an opportunity to enjoy the riparian habitat. The preserve is a significant element in Gilroy's park chain because of its unique role as passive open space, said Community Services Director Bob Connolly. The preserve leaves in a natural state where people can get away from the organized kind of things. We hear a lot about efforts of the council, the business community, and the economic development experts to identify attributes that make Gilroy uniquely desirable, attributes that differentiate it from other places, attributes that make Gilroy a place where business owners will want to come to establish their businesses, where they'll want to live, and where their employees will want to live. That Uvis Creek corridor is one of those unique differentiating attributes that makes Gilroy such a special place. Yep. So I'd like to ask that the proponents of the track proposal revisit the proposed siting, and I encourage the council to take this opportunity to help revitalize community efforts to fulfill the vision of the Uvis Creek Park Master Plan so we don't squander one of Gilroy's most unique treasures. Thank you.
John Ander, followed by Mary Garcia and Patricia Benson.
Hello. I don't know etiquette or protocol, but my 6-year-old wanted to speak to you, and it's way past his bedtime, so you're here with me, and it's almost past mine, so we'll see how this goes. I have 3 boys. If they want to go play basketball, the city has provided places they can go play basketball. The city has provided places they can play soccer. The city has provided places where they can play baseball. They don't want to do it. They like to ride their bikes. It's healthy. It's good for them. The skate park was built as a skate park. I didn't know it's illegal to ride bicycles there. I don't know if it is or not, but we go and we ride our bikes there. But I would challenge you to try to get a bike through the turnstiles there. It's not made for it. It's not. There's never been a place really for the kids to ride except the stuff they have built in the creek. I kind of take a little bit of notice. This isn't about where the location is. It's about working with the Garcias, working to somewhere we can do this. The kids are going to do it. When they were talking about the New Hope Community project development, they mentioned the kids building tracks. There's a necessity for it. The part with I like going on the levee, it's fine. I don't see how asphalt is part of a natural riparian environment. It's not. You have to build a little bit, to enjoy it. It's part of it. The parks have parking. There's baseball there already. I don't see what parking's an issue. I just hope you would work with the Garcias. I know it's not to get this whole thing started, and we're not having a ground-breaking ceremony, but I support this project. Mayor Velasco mentioned, part of the community to live, work, and play. I live in this city. I work in this city, and I'm tired of driving my kids to San Jose and to Santa Cruz so they can play.
Thank you. Your name again?
Excuse me?
Your name?
John Ander.
Thank you.
Mary Garcia, followed by Patricia Benson and Jim Garcia.
Good evening, Council. I'm Mary Garcia, the president of Garlic City BMX, and I'm so excited that we're talking about this. And I wasn't going to speak, but I just have to come up and talk about the safety issue. I was really shocked when one of my supporters, as I was going around town to businesses, one of my supporters showed me a video of jumps that the kids are already building out by the Los Animas homes out there by Los Animas School. And some of you know that when the jumps were built by Christmas Hill Park, there was a young fellow that broke his neck there, and he's now in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Now, the track that we will build, the pump track or the, whatever we build, the racetrack eventually, hopefully, it will be safe. The number one priority for my husband, who has built many, many tracks, is safety. It's not what, maybe the kids might not want a certain jump, but he knows what's safe for kids on bikes. And I just have to point that out, that already, kids are building jumps out there by those new homes. And I just hope, that nobody gets hurt. I wouldn't want anybody to end up with a broken neck. And so this track, wherever it's put, will be safe. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mary.
Patricia Benson, followed by Jim Garcia.
Pat, you've been busy tonight.
Yes, it's been a long night. I applaud you all for your tenacity. Now I'm talking as a Parks and Rec Commissioner, and we're supportive of the concept of a BMX bike facility. I would like to say, however, though, I don't think you should be looking at the Christmas Hill site for a lot of the reasons that were said here tonight about the riparian issues and the possibility. I think you should not rule out the sports park. Bill Headley, a member of our staff, was part of a staff team about a flood study that have taken place and bike studies that have taken place that are affecting the sports park. And I think he's an untapped resource for you, Gabe, that he has information that he can provide to you that it might help you in your decision. And the Water District has previously cleared the flood issues in 2008 or 9. Bill and I are texting each other right now. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, but we are totally in support. I think when Mary came last year to the commission, we actually suggested this very thing about getting something started, fundraising, such as that, but just don't limit it to the Christmas Hill Park.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Garcia.
Thank you for the time today for us to speak. I just wanted to kind of address the concerns that Herman had. These tracks, when we build them, they are always designed to have water go through it. They do not hold water. They do not restrict flow. They are designed so that the water, if it rains and there's a lot of water coming through through the tracks, we have them designed so that the water will go through the track and continue off the track. We do not want to hold any water on the track because that stops the kids from using it. So all our tracks are designed not to hold water, and they're only about, I'm going to say, a pump track would only be about 300 feet in length, and it would have a several turns on it, so it doesn't take up that much space. So I do believe that we could accommodate that 150-foot limit by the little creek there, or the runoff area. But anyway, of the levee, I should say. So anyway, what I wanted to say is that when we design a track, we do not use chemicals. I would not even use soil tech myself on a track. For one thing, it's once you apply soil tech, it is very difficult to remove. But these tracks are made up totally of dirt. If the need came up that we had to remove the track or change it or move it, that would be very simple, because there would be no asphalt, no soil tech, and it will just be hopefully soil with a little bit of clay. And I think if Herman has any questions or concerns, maybe he and I can get together and talk about how we can make it work for the safety of the fish, okay, for their habitat. I don't think we can. I don't think we would need to destroy their habitat. I think we can work through that easily enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Let me bring it back to council. I do want to recognize our city administrator, because he had a couple of comments that he wanted to make.
Certainly, Mayor and Council, I want to clarify a couple of things. One, the matter before you is not approving a project. I said that clearly at the beginning. I'm going to reiterate that. It's not consistent with my practice to bring an item for you to approve without us staff having done our due diligence. A couple of things that I'd like to address is, one, in the staff report, under the analysis portion, will clearly call out the fact that we have to do environmental, not a full EIR, but we have to look at CEQA. We got to look at air quality, flooding, biological resources, noise, public services. And here also is the stream setback. We call out the fact that we have to look at the habitat conservation plan, and that it's Uvas Creek is a category 1 stream, so we have to look at what the setbacks are. We have to look at flooding, potential issues with the Uvas Creek as a floodway area. So we clearly call out that there's a significant amount of due diligence to be undertaken with these two sites. In any type of development project, there's a due diligence period in which a site is evaluated, it's assessed for any concerns or issues. Are there mitigating measures that can be implemented to be able to move a project forward? And also, too, alternatively, if it's not the most feasible site and viable site for whatever the reasons may be, environmental, habitat, or otherwise, we're going to come back to you, working with Garlic City BMX, and tell you, after further evaluation or due diligence, the two sites identified are not feasible to move forward. However, there might be another option. So we clearly call that out. The other point I'd like to make is, it's been talked about the sports complex. We did look at the sports complex. That was one of the areas we originally looked at. However, on October 26th, we're going to be having a study session to talk about LAFCO and annexation in our sports complex, that it's more complicated than what it appears to be on the surface for us to go over there and build a dirt pump track at the sports complex. Short of taking out a baseball field, there's no other area that's within the current allowable use area for the sports complex. All that other land, and even the sports complex, is still in county land. It's never been annexed into the city, and it's not in the USA. You're going to get a more thorough, detailed report on October 26th on where we are with LAFCO and the history with the sports complex. So
Gabe, let me just interrupt you right there, just so that for the clarification of the council and the audience. The land that we currently have at the sports complex that consists of the frontage road area, which is not in the city, and the baseball field, which is, again, not in the city, but LAFCO has approved the development of that area, and that's the current sports park. Correct. Everything else is not in the city, It's currently being farmed, and we have no control over it. Is that correct?
Correct. The remaining land is currently farmed by a local farmer that's out there.
Okay. Please
So-
continue.
So, again, the purpose of the MOU is simply to identify the roles and responsibilities of each of the parties so that we can move forward with doing our due diligence, evaluate and assess each of the sites, and then come back to you with our findings. And if there is an alternative site, then we're going to identify that. So again, it's simply to move forward with the development MOU, which that MOU is still going to come back to you anyways for your final approval. That will give us and Garlic City BMX an opportunity to make sure we address what that due diligence process is going to look like before we bring it back to you. So again, those are just some clarifying points I wanted to make because it's not contrary to the public perception that this is a project being approved. It is not.
Thank you. Councilmember, thought you were up there.
I was up.
Did you want to speak or not?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just for clarification, I am not part of the management team of Garlic City BMX, nor do I have any financial interest in it. I'm simply a council member that brought together the leaders of the community and kept this project alive. I'm a strong supporter of this project, and I want to see it come true. And I'm not going to recuse myself from anything because there's nothing to recuse myself from. So I hope that clarifies that. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, is there any other questions for staff? No? Yeah, we do need, we need to be able to provide direction to staff. So let's, we have a motion by Councilmember Harney, seconded by Councilmember Tucker. I'm assuming to direct staff to proceed with drafting an MOU with Garlic City BMX and to come back at a later date with a finalized plan. So when they come back, it'll be coming back to council.
That's correct. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Yes.
Can we update to include Herman in those discussions so it doesn't get here and then we start opening it all up again, so we can make sure that we're not going to have any problems there down the line?
Well, I think that, as you know, that the problem with having multiple people in this issue is really a contract between the city, would be a contract between the city and Garlic City BMX. So to that extent, I don't think it's appropriate to have third parties in it. I do think, though, that once the finalized plan gets, ready for the public, then anybody is going to be able to have an opportunity to weigh in on that and then come back to the council and let us know.
I'm talking about when they start their site selection.
Well, I think that's the due diligence that they're going to have to talk to anybody, whether it's community members, the Garlic Festival, whoever they have to talk about or talk to as part of their due diligence. Is that what you're getting at?
Okay, so.
Is that right? Correct. Okay. Yeah. So there is going to be some coordination. Okay. Please vote. And again, this passes on a 6-0 vote, and this is only to draft an MOU with Garlic City BMX and to come back with a finalized plan. So thank you. And then all the young people out here, you just got a lesson in community involvement and getting involved. All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you to all the kids for staying late and the parents leaving them out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we make sure next time that it comes early on in the agenda?
I didn't realize all these. I thought they were part of the Boy Scouts. No, I thought it was part of the Boy Scouts. Okay, let's see. Next item up is City Administrator's reports.
Certainly, Mayor and Council, just 3 quick updates. One, as it relates to the ERP system, the land management system, our staff right now is working diligently with our consultants who are on site right now for the ERP system. They are, finance and the consultant are meeting with each department to start mapping, the process mapping and everything we do as it relates to the ERP system. Next week, our land management consultant will be on site, again, doing the same process with departments that will be part of that land management system, starting to process map our processes and everything else that we do